Hi, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for stopping by and thank you for your time. Going to go over this week's post. I hope what will be an entertaining commentary and this week's recipe. So I'm going to share screen. And this week's post is all about hormones, primarily insulin. Insulin as a driver and influencer of hormones, enzymes, and more. Learn how healthy oils and combinations can benefit hormones and health. This week's curated videos offer a plethora of useful information about hormones and specifically about how insulin can affect other hormones, leading to numerous hormonal imbalances that can affect daily function, fertility, hair loss, moods, and much more. This week's recipe is Garibaldi biscuits, very low sugar. If you do not like raisins, as I do not like raisins, you can substitute raisins with another dried fruit, such as cranberries. This week's curated videos, there's one I love, two, not so much, but they still include a lot of useful information about hormones. The first one is from Richard Johnson, a biologic switch that drives obesity, diabetes, and other common diseases. So you can learn about what they have learned so far about these important pathways. Special interest in the role of sugar, especially fructose, uric acid, and enzymes, specifically enzymes that block fructose. The second video is 4 big hormones of hair loss. So it's helpful advice regarding how hair grows, hormones, blood flow, and hair loss. And that might help some of you uncover the reasons for your hair loss. The Miracle Doctor, get your sex life back, melt belly fat, and heal your injuries. The main benefits of this is hormones, intermittent fasting. But the truth is that no fast ever went on for an entire year in either animals or early humans. And that seasonal duration is about 3 to 4 months before negative consequences occur. So that is why I am not a keto fan, because that was not sustained. It cannot be sustained. And that was not what early studies showed. It might be beneficial for some conditions like seizures, epilepsy, but it is not for the general population, because that's basically a form of starvation. And the reason your body turned on all those switches was to keep you from starving to death. They were not meant to be maintained, and they were not maintained either in animals or humans, because there's a point of no return. And there's a point where positive turns into negative. So, and then from the book Immune for Life, it talks about different types of cellular resistance, the importance of substrates, the importance of cofactors, and how some oils are more beneficial than others. So And then, things that you might find helpful are you can do one fast or a few short periodic fasts to reset your metabolism and get it functioning again. If your metabolism is not changing or fluctuating too much, how long can you go with fasting, or how low can you go with A1C is cultish, and there is no indication in any literature that I've ever seen that a desired A1C is below 5. Carb metabolism can be and is affected by fiber, therefore extremely low carb diets are also not necessary long term. If you want to know individually how food and all these other factors affects you, a continuous glucose monitor might be a good idea, so you can tailor your own lifestyle choices, or just checking your blood sugar for a few weeks or months after meals is also helpful, so you can set your own carbohydrate point. And your own sugar you should always keep below the safe limit regardless. So anyway, I'm hoping that the first video will help you recognize the errors in the second and third video and do not get on any cultish bandwagons or extreme diets. So fasting is beneficial, but it can be overused. The truth is that no fast ever went on for the entire year in either animals or early humans, and that seasonal duration is about 3 to 4 months before negative consequence occurs. And the daily fast is helpful with the duration determined by you, as digestion will not begin until eating stops. So is there helpful information in all of this about summer versus winter, abundance versus starvation, hibernation, night versus day, and learning about our own metabolism? Yes, there is, but do not take it to a cultish state for your own benefit. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little story about a rat, mice. It later went on to be shown in dogs and humans in some of the largest studies ever undertaken regarding nutrition. So this is about vitamin D resistance, insulin resistance, how insulin influences other hormones, and the things that can happen, and how to correct it, and what they learned, and what they knew a long time ago. So first of all, the first thing they avoided was oxidative stress and rancid oils. Otherwise, what happened to the rat after 3 or 4 months? His carb digestion began to be affected, and he began to lose his hair, and he began to get arthritic symptoms, and he began to get sores, if I remember correctly. So the first thing they avoided was oxidative stress and rancid oils. And when they began to feed the rat things like butter and cod liver oil, the rat could stay healthy for the entire year, even while eating his chow. And they made sure they extended that study beyond 365 days so that they could determine that these effects were not seasonal specific. Therefore, what can you take away from this? You can learn to avoid oxidative stress. You can learn to avoid rancidity in oils. and that includes overheating. That includes mixing oils with sugar, which causes oxidation, even in the best oils. And you can learn which oils work the best, namely opposed to vegetable oils. And that would be marine oils, cod liver oil, salmon oil, fish oil, fatty fish, sardines, all the fatty fish, fatty marine oils, fish oils, and of course, grass-fed. Definitely never margarine. Grass-fed butter, whole fat mammal milk, oleic acid, olive oil, some seed oils, not all, some seed oils. And know that there's a difference between the benefits of flax oil, between flax oil and marine oils when it comes to insulin resistance. Know that vitamin E is also an important cofactor, although they aren't quite sure why yet, but the combination of olive oil and vitamin E or fish oil and vitamin E seems to be beneficial. You can try wheat germ oil for vitamin E, a good source of vitamin E. Try to get all of your oil sources from food. And you can avoid this carb maldigestion process 365 days a year. You can improve your insulin resistance. You can lower inflammation. You can improve your brain health. You can affect your moods. And you can avoid malnutrition without extreme diets, just by understanding how these oils work, why they work, what they do as basically as substrates and transport molecules for other substances. And by transport, we mean into the cell and into the mitochondria. So these oils are extremely important for this intracellular communication. And if you want to know more about how resistance and blocking these essential things can have negative consequence, you would just have to read the critical info on Alternavita, which is on the homepage, and you can learn about specific toxicities regarding insulin resistance, namely vitamin D resistance, steroids, primarily steroids, and why they are contraindicated in oral natural immune therapy. And vitamin D is important, but it's important to get it from the right sources, and it's important to get it already biosynthesized as in cod liver oil. That's why I only recommend cod liver oil, and I would never ever recommend a synthetic vitamin D. So a short story about that. I have a relative with an autoimmune disorder. The only thing he was taking was his recommended dose of vitamin D. He began to develop sores and lesions all over his body. And it took them 2 years to figure out what it was. And eventually they figured out he was being poisoned by vitamin D. He also began to fall. He also began to lose his vision again. So vitamin D, synthetic vitamin D is a toxin, and I will invite you to explore what type of toxin in the veterinary manuals, Merck veterinary manual, but I would never recommend a synthetic vitamin D. You can get plenty of vitamin D from the sun or natural oils, fatty fish, milk. There's enough vitamin D in milk. And they no longer fortify milk with vitamin D. So that tells you that there is enough naturally occurring vitamin D in these types of products that you really should not be supplementing with synthetic vitamin D. It's not necessary. You just have to learn how to make what you are ingesting have better transport, a better substrate, and accelerated clearance so that it does not become a harmful substance. And that can occur with many different types of toxins that are being stored in your fat, as these videos, I hope, will demonstrate. So that includes hormones, that includes vitamin D, that includes all fat-soluble vitamins, which can be vitamin A, can also become very toxic if you take too much and you are not biosynthesizing it correctly. So that's what this week is all about, is learning about how these oils are transport molecules, how they accelerate clearance in, what's the word I should say, how they accelerate transport into and out of cells. And possibly in some ways, they definitely help repair cells, put it that way. So this is, I hope you'll get the right takeaways from these. Avoid oxidation, consume only healthy oils, don't add sugar to oils, avoid rancidity, and then you should have no problems with the flow of transport and biosynthesis and achieving the right nutrition in your body. And then you can avoid all these problems that essentially stem from a malnourished state and toxicity. Okay, have a good one, everyone. I'll see you next time. Thanks again for your time. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, don't forget to help spread the word about Immune for Life and Alterna Vita. Thanks again. Bye.